So I will go ahead and start with a couple of questions about acquisition of weapons in the United States. And Mr. Reid and General Hooper, thanks again for being here today to testify. This is an important topic. I'd like to begin by talking about the ability of foreign national military students to acquire weapons in the United States. According to the FBI, the Pensacola shooter used a hunting license to legally purchase a 9mm Glock 45 pistol. Mr. Reid, can you discuss the ways in which foreign nationals, foreign students can obtain a weapon either on or off a military base?
Yeah, thank you, Madam Chair. So as we mentioned, we had variances in our policies that did not specifically proscribe international military students from obtaining, purchasing, and handling firearms while they were enrolled in the training. And Secretary Esper has issued new guidance that makes that a clear prohibition and is a condition of them accepting the opportunity to train in the United States going forward, that they will sign this acknowledgement statement that they are no longer, regardless of any state, local, federal laws, that they are proscribed by the Secretary as a sponsor of that training. So we have put that in place. With regard to the shooter in Pensacola, as you noted, and you've likely seen the same things I've seen coming out of FBI and ATF, where in most states in this country, if you have a valid hunting license, there's no further requirement for any documentation. Which seems to go against other statutes that prescribe non-immigrant visa holders from doing that. And I'm not an expert on either one of these areas, but we understand that to be the case. We are working with ATF right now. I believe from our department, we intend to put forward changes to legislation to close down what looks like a loophole there. I understand that ATF is looking at it very similarly. All of this, of course, we're talking about the legal purchase. But if you know a little bit about the firearms in general, purchasing from an individual is different from a firearms dealer. And many of these restrictions that we just talked about, they vary when it's just individual to individual sales. And then that doesn't even get into the non-legal acquisition of firearms. So there are clearly many ways in this country to obtain a firearm. What we have taken action on from the Secretary is to make it very clear to all of our military partners that any use of firearms while they're here in training, first of all, they're prescribed from the purchasing, as we mentioned. We acknowledge, however, that there are many traditions on many of our bases for skeet shooting and other firearms-related sport activities. The Secretary has granted the installation commanders the discretion to approve those actions should they comport with and be consistent with the training environment, and should there be no other reason for the commander to disapprove that. We've put that down in their hands to do that, different from the acquisition of the weapon that we already talked about. So we haven't completely prohibited any of them from ever handling a firearm. We have received concerns from many members and partner nations about some of these sport activities, and we're open-minded about how those possibilities may work in the future, but they will be at the discretion of the local commander and with that awareness on a limited by specifically approved basis.
Yeah, certainly. I don't believe that through school activities or those sporting activities, most of the training, it may require different weapons to be handled, but certainly that would be different than the acquisition of a weapon. So I will go ahead. My time is expiring. I'd like to move on to Ranking Member Peters for questions, and then we'll go on to the other members of the subcommittee.